Alright, buddy boyos. It is time to talk about my first kiss. And I believe I was 28 years old when I had my first kiss. You'll have to forgive me. My memories from the age of 28 to 32 are very scattered in terms of timeline because so many things with regards to my dating life happened between 28 and 32. Well, really, up until 30, more so than anything else. But point is, um, in some stories, like this one, I'll give you all the details because I don't particularly care about the woman in question. I'm still not going to use real names, um, but I'll use funny names. And really, the only women I actually care about is my ex. Not in a simpy way, but I respect our relationship. And so maybe we'll get to that video someday, but I'm probably going to talk more about um, having the experience of having a girlfriend rather than stories about our relationship. Just because I don't want to, I wouldn't feel good about myself doing that, honestly. Um, but the other women I don't give a shit about. So, I also will, I probably mentioned this in the last video, but I will probably make a video on general dating protocols for incels. You know, or just black pillars in general, really. It won't be typical dating advice. It'll be more realistic, so you don't waste your time in the sea of dating should you choose to pursue that. Totally understand if you don't. But if that is something you want to do, I will be providing that for you, and it will hopefully be useful, or at the very least entertaining. Let's see. So we met on Hinge. Um, my first relationship, actually, I met on Bumble. But all the apps are the same, for the record. Let's just get that out of the way. All the apps are the same. It doesn't really matter which one you go on. Realistically speaking, you're going to load up the app, and you'll barely get past the first woman before just being disgusted by what you see. It's crazy. So we met on Hinge. We went ahead and did a phone call. That's pretty much how I always work this thing. Before I go on a date, I always do a phone call. There was one date where I did not do a phone call, and that was actually a woman that asked me out. This is not the same girl, but I figured I'd bring this up now. And it didn't go so well, that date, for a number of reasons, not just because of the lack of phone call, but I find the phone call helps to build a little more rapport and get used to her voice, because when you just meet someone, you don't even know what their voice is. Like, it's one more new stimulus that you have to break through to, like, interact, because this shit is so inhuman. Anyway, spoiler alert in case the thumbnail and image on your screen. Oh, actually, yeah, the thumbnail, not the image on your screen. The thumbnail didn't give it away. She was black. She was black. I'm ashamed to, not ashamed, but it is unfortunate that the first woman I ever kissed was black. She was actually Nigerian. She is Nigerian, I guess. You don't really change that. Anyway, she was on a green card or something, or some kind of work visa. She worked at a greenhouse like the good old days. Flat as a plank of wood, tight ass, shiny white teeth, pretty thick Nigerian accent, little bit difficult to understand her on the phone, much easier in person. Person wasn't a problem. Her phone was also kind of shitty, and she said she had issues with it with other people, so it wasn't just me. Anyway, I actually had a first date location back where I lived previously. I moved recently. But I had a first date location that I would always go to whenever I would have a first date with a woman. I'd pretty much always go there. I find that helps to make me more comfortable. Since I already know the location, I know everything about it, I know what times are quiet and good for a date, so on and so forth. And I went on at least 4 dates at this particular place. And it must have been funny for the employees if any of them recognized me. It's a small sandwich place, really. Like a cafe sandwich combo thing. So, it also would have been funny for the employees later on in the story. We'll get to that. So, there's a few smaller date stories, and I'll go over them in this video because why not? They're not huge or anything. So I went on a date with an Asian girl at this place. Not 5 seconds into the date, an upstanding black gentleman walked in, and not 5 seconds after walking in, he started grinding on my date. Now, I did tell him, I'm going to need you to back up, Chief. And he immediately gets in my face, and he was taller than me, but he was a skinny, lanky little upstanding delinquent. So He didn't really scare me at all. In fact, my first thought when he got in my face like that, my first thought was it would be a real shame if that glass display case had his head go through it. But, you know, um, and the woman in question I was on the date with, actually, she, gosh, why am I losing my thought here? She said if I didn't step in, she had pepper spray. So, but she thanked me for stepping in. She was an emotionless robot. She was also the first Asian girl I ever went on a date with. She had a son. She didn't tell me she had a son until we were on the date, which was really fun. But like I said, this woman was emotionless. So her son lives with her parents in Washington, D.C. Totally different state than where we were. So it really wouldn't be a problem. And she told me she didn't really feel like a mother. She also talked about her father dying and didn't, again, no emotion. So she was an insect, to say the least. Another first date I had was with a Russian woman. And she was very much trying to be a top. And only I'm a top. So the date was entertaining, but she was being very rude with all her jokes and such. But we did have a good few laughs. And I remember at the end of the date, when we did the hug, after the hug, my hand brushed against her ass, and I didn't intend for that. So I apologized. And she said, well, maybe you should have intentionally grabbed my ass or something. I didn't grab it, I just brushed it. But I responded with, I probably wouldn't want to do that anyway. She ended up blocking me, that one. That was fascinating. Oh, right, the Asian girl, right. So the end of that date, she said she needed a few days to think about things. And I swear to God, I wish I could have shown you her face when I responded. I said, me too. Oh, man, women love to reject you, but they don't like when you reject them. Man, it's crazy. It's crazy. Gosh, that was fun. And I think there was another date. Yeah, there was another date. This was a white girl. She had like at least four different nose piercings. She was very hot outside of those nose piercings and whatever tattoos she had. She had stupid tattoos. She was bipolar or borderline. I forget which one, but she basically said as much. She was a liar, and she didn't get back to me after the day. Like, I texted her goodnight and stuff, and like, hope you got home safe, typical shit. And she didn't get back to me until like 2 days later, and she like lied that she was like doing something else, and it turns out she was just hanging out with her friend after the date until like 1 a.m. at a bowling alley. Obviously we never went on a date again. So that date, I remember actually, on that date, I actually cried. You have to understand, when you are so touch-starved, every woman is like capable of fixing this. And it's not a matter of like hatred or anything like that, but you look at women and you're like, you could fix this for me, because no one else is going to fix this for me. And so many men are touch-starved. And I remember like holding her hand and talking to her, and I could see that she wasn't actually feeling me at all. And the reason I was crying was more that my brain was like a traumatic response of like, she's not gonna ever like touch me again in any way, shape, or form. I don't even mean sexually, right? In fact, when I was in a relationship, the biggest thing I told her was that I just need you to touch me. Like, it doesn't need to be sexual. I just like skin-to-skin contact. That's it. Because I need that shit for like another 50 years because I'm so fucking touch-starved. But anyway, yeah. So I cried on that date. Pro tip: try not to cry on your first date. But that it didn't matter whether I cried or not. Didn't matter. Normally, I would never date a woman like that anyway. For the record, I can't stand nose piercings, especially septum ones. She had all of them. Like I said, she had at least 4 of them. My ex actually did have a hoop ring, which I tolerated. Maybe she did. Did she? Sometimes she did something. I kind of forget if she did. Maybe she didn't. I don't know. I'm not actually sure. Who knows? I don't remember. So, back to the Nigerian woman. So, the Nigerian woman, the date starts with her needing to use the bathroom, and the bathroom at the place is busted, so we walk across the street to a Rite Aid and ask if she could use the bathroom. So we end up using, like, the employee bathroom or something. The employee walks us back. Next, we go back to the place, and we talk a little before we get food. And we were hitting it off. We were good to go, talking, getting to know each other, you know, different cultures, different languages, really, and all that kind of stuff. And we get food, we eat the food, we talk some more. I don't really remember what we really talked about, honestly. You know, the goal was really just to get her talking and just listen, right? That's the best thing you can do on a first date. Anyway, this isn't the dating protocol video, so I'll try to keep that to the side for now. And I don't exactly remember how the first kiss even happened, but I could see it that she was absolutely interested in actually going for the kiss. So I put my face next to hers, and we were just flirting, and the next thing I know... oh, actually, sorry. I'm off track a little bit here. We did use a card game. I have this card game that I bought. It's just called Dating Cards. And it's meant for first dates. And one of the questions is, describe what your first kiss was like. And of course, I capped the shit out of that. I lied my ass off. But when she was talking about her first kiss, that's when she leaned closer to me, and I was leaning closer to her already. And she was like, well, let me show you what my first kiss was like. Her first kiss and our first kiss was a makeout session. It was not actually a kiss at all, really. It was a full-blown makeout session for about 5 minutes straight. I'm not even lying here. That's how it was. So she presses her face into mine. I'm literally shaking. Because this is the first time I've ever kissed a woman, let alone doing the makeout and the tongues and everything. I did pretty well, apparently, because she was moaning all the whole time. So that was great. And we end up laying down on the bench inside of the cafe. You know, like those food booth type benches. It wasn't a booth, though. It was like an open type of thing. But point is, we're laying down, and I swear to God, we were making out for 5 minutes. It's a very long time. And she asked at the end why I was shaking. And I just told her I wasn't expecting all of that. The truth is, of course, that it was my first kiss. And in general, I was touch-starved and still am touch-starved, at the moment at least. Real shit, bro, boys, real shit. So, now this is when shit starts to get dark. I didn't realize at the time, but that kiss and that makeout session was not a kiss or makeout session of genuine desire. I know the difference now because when I had my first girlfriend, a different woman, the intimacy was very different. It was a very different experience. Hers was more... by hers, I mean the Nigerian woman. It was more animalistic. And we'll get to that. It was a kiss of trauma, not a kiss of lust. Anyway, we ended the night with another short makeout session before she got into her Uber. I tend to date a lot of women that don't have cars, by the way. Just fun fact. So the second date, we didn't kiss at all. Not once. We went to a karaoke bar. I don't drink. She didn't either. Then we got dinner at Chipotle or some Mexican place. I don't know. I forget. And we talked a lot about marriage and how she wants to get married because, primarily because her family would disown her if she would be dating a guy and not with the intention of getting married. It's apparently very important in Nigerian culture. So, I never planned to have kids or get married. So, I of course lied my ass off and told her, well, you know, if you show me what that's like, maybe I'll consider it, right? And let me tell you, boys, this woman would be a horrible wife. So I think we went on 4 dates total. The 4th date really wasn't a date. Maybe it was 3 dates. I don't know. I think it was 4 dates, but the 4th date wasn't really a date. Anyway, on the 3rd date, we were in my bedroom. Yes, sir. And she was grinding on me. We made out. She reached for my pee-pee, and I turned her down. And I turned her down because, again, just... even without knowing it exactly at the time, it just felt off. It just didn't feel like she really wanted me. In fact, on the 4th date, she admitted that on the 1st date, she used an aphrodisiac of some sort. I don't know the exact details. And that's what made her, like, really horny on the 1st date. and that's why she toned down the kissing and shit on the second date. But on the third date, we were making out, and she was grinding on me and reached for my pee-pee, but I didn't. I said, no, ma'am, no, miss, I do not want. But we did take our shirts off. Again, she had no tits, 0 tits. I did suck and lick on her nipples. She actually really likes to suck and lick on nipples too. Doesn't really do anything for me, but hey, she got off on it. Cool. So, jumping ahead here. I usually don't work off of a hard script. I have like bullet points. So let me see where I'm at. Okay, so right, 4th date. So before the 4th date, she texted me in the morning before I was supposed to head over to her to pick her up, and she asked if I could bring her to get some urine test done for work beforehand. She needed a test done. So she doesn't have a car, and I didn't see a problem, so I did it. We spent maybe 2 hours doing that because she had issues with her insurance. I even offered to pay for the urine test because touch-starved, you know, whatever, right? Sorry if I'm smacking something. I don't know if your mic's picking up on that. Probably is. So, not the smartest idea, but she didn't accept it. She didn't accept it. Eventually, she worked through it, paid for it, whatever it was. Afterwards, we got empanadas. She introduced me to some random foreign woman that worked at the empanada place. Apparently, all these foreign women that are on visas all know each other. I guess they all have orgies or something. I don't know, right? Now, during the past 3 dates, she had kept asking to drive my car. My newly owned car at the time. Now, the car wasn't new, it was pre-owned, but it only had 8,000 miles on it when I bought it, so relatively new. And I said no until this date. And I told her I would let her drive it in a parking lot. I knew of this church where I used to go to Boy Scouts, empty parking lot. We went there on the way home to my place. And when pulling into the parking lot, she started complaining about how I'm wrong for not trusting her to drive on the road. And I should have just told her to shut the fuck up, and she's not even going to drive at this point because she was being a bitch for no fucking goddamn reason. It's like, you should say thank you, Daddy, for letting me drive your vehicle. But whatever. I told her to show me that I can trust her, and maybe I would. So we get out of the car, we switch sides, and this fucking bitch, this fucking stupid bitch, starts reversing the car as I have one leg in the passenger seat. I had to hop back 3 times. I smacked my knee into the door, and before she stopped, smiling like the dumbest cunt. Sorry, I messed up that sentence. I smacked my knee into the door before she finally stopped smiling like the dumbest cunt. I raised my voice. I did not yell, but I did tell her to get out of the car. And her face got real serious, real fast, and I told her again to get out. She said sorry, and I said again, get out of the car. 3 times before she finally did. I'm not even sure if she even really apologized. Maybe she was just kidding. I don't know. But she did say she was kidding about the whole thing. And you don't fucking kid about a man's car that I literally had just bought 2 weeks ago for, I don't know, about $23,000. Bought it in cash. Don't worry, I'm not rich. Don't be jealous. Anyway. Women, boys. Women. So we get back to my place, and we end up talking for maybe 3 or 4 hours straight about how I'm so evil for yelling at her, even though I did not yell at her. In fact, when I told this story to my boys at the time, they all told me, holy shit, I would have had her head on a stick. You have the patience of a god. And yes, I do have the patience of a god, and yes, I do agree with them, but it's long done already, so... But the fact is, like, she was so obsessed with the fact that I raised my voice at her as if, like, this bitch did no wrong. And it's like, bitch, you fucked with my car that I just bought. And that was my first time really trusting you, and you just immediately shatter it? Great. Good job. Way to go, sweetie. Good job. Never date. Never date blacks. Around blacks, never date. So, She wanted to take an Uber home. I eventually convinced her to let me drive her home. And on the way home, she just randomly blurts out a story about how she shared grape juice with 2 guys. If you don't get what I'm saying, take another second, go back 5 seconds in the video, try again. I'm not actually talking about a drink. And so all the weird intimacy quirks had made sense to me now. And now, quick aside, having kissed a girl who was at... Oh, I already mentioned this before. Sorry. I wrote that part down. But this is how I now know in the future, once I had my girlfriend after this, that there was a huge difference in the intimacy between her and my girlfriend. And it was the difference of trauma, presumably. So, and, past that point, was it a first kiss? Yeah, sure it was, but it wasn't meaningful to me. The more meaningful kiss was with my previous relationship. So, anyway, she told me I should date other women after this, and so I did. 2 weeks go by with no contact. She ends up reaching out to me. We end up trying to talk on the phone for maybe 20 minutes before she again starts bitching me about how I yelled at her. And it's like, I'm done, right? So I go ahead. She ends the conversation, actually. She's the one that ended the phone call. Not 10 minutes later, she tries calling me again. I don't pick up. She ends up calling me 3 more times before I finally just block her number and I move on. And that was it. That's it. That's all I got. So that was the story of my first kiss, boys. I was 28 years old. And I don't plan to date any black woman ever again, Nigerian or otherwise. See you next time, boys.